So I definitely agree with, if you want to build deep roots or grow deep roots and build like a foundation at a church, you want to line up with both.
What about you, Bishop? What do you see on that one?
Yeah,
The man who likes to argue right now. Let's go.
Eventually, you're gonna have an issue,
Right.
unless you can feel like your heart can line up to what the vision is and the preaching is. But eventually, you're gonna say like, man, like you said, you're gonna cause division.
What's going on, fam? This is Anthony from the Not Offended podcast, the conservative Chicano right here. If y'all could do me a favor, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you could leave a comment, hit the like button, but most of all, if you could hit subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hey, welcome to the Not Offended podcast. It's your boy Anthony, conservative Chicano. I'm sitting here with my guys. I got the Bishop, I got the Token. Well, it was a great weekend, gentlemen. How y'all doing? We good? We good? A lot going on. You guys don't look good. Are we good though? We good today? Come on, man.
Oh, sorry.
It's podcast Monday. It's
I know you
always
just
good.
confused me. You said it was a great weekend. I was thinking like, man, did something happen?
I know, I was thinking too. Yeah.
Well, it's always good. I mean, we got
Oh, yeah,
breath
it's
in our
good. Yeah,
lungs.
yeah.
I mean, we had church
Hey,
yesterday.
Man, the Lord is good. I was just making sure I didn't forget something.
Okay, not like a birthday or nothing. No, you're good. So, hey, I wanted to just take a minute real quickly. I wanted to thank everybody who's been sending in clips, because in a couple of weeks we're going to do a clips podcast where we're just doing clips that people send us. And I got to admit, I got some ones that are going to make you too uncomfortable, because it's going to put you on a spot. You have to have some comments ready. Why are you already looking at me like this?
No, I ain't got to comment on nothing.
Yeah, the problem is you probably won't say anything, and I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble.
I got my job description. I ain't in it.
So we're gonna do this clips in a couple of weeks, and I want to encourage everybody to send the clips, leave comments, all that stuff. It's very important. But we're gonna be getting some not offended podcast gear out there, and when I do, if we pick your clip, I'm gonna send you some gear. So I'm probably send you a shirt or a hat or something like that. But want to encourage everybody. Also, thank you to everybody who's leaving comments, liking, subscribing, all that stuff. We keep adding subscribers every week. We greatly appreciate it. Remember, the whole goal here is to talk about culture and its influence on the church. We do throw in some random things sometimes. Sometimes we throw in some random things just because we all do life together, and some of it's funny. So I got a random thought. Last week we had a random thought. We talk about this character count when you invite people to certain places. We got off on the whole Brandon Lake thing. We started talking about all sorts of stuff. Today's random thought is this. I was having a conversation. I have conversations everywhere. Okay, so don't forget, share this, like it, comment. Here we go. I have conversations everywhere, gyms, restaurants, you name it. I just talk to people everywhere I go. Okay, in a specific conversation, talk to a person heading to Bible school. And they're heading off to Bible school. And I got to thinking, I know the stat is north of 50%, depending on the Bible school. It could vary, but it's always north of 50%, that most people who graduate from Bible school, they don't end up pastoring churches. They may end up in another part of ministry, but very few of them go on to pastor churches. Very few of those go on to be successful senior pastors or church planters of churches. So my question to you guys is, why are Bible colleges failing at producing senior pastors or pastors who lead churches? And the reason we know this is an undeniable fact is because certain large denominations are in crisis mode right now, because at the rate the senior pastors are retiring, they don't have anybody to fill those pulpits. It is like scarcity. It is more churches are closing than opening. That's how bad it is right now. In your opinions, why are Bible colleges, if they're intended to put out pastors, senior pastors in particular, why are they not hitting that mark? Why are they not succeeding? So we would say, why are they failing at this? What do you think is going on, Bishop?
Well, I don't know if their intention is to necessarily have pastors. I don't think that's maybe their goal.
Okay, what do you think the goal? Okay, don't move the goalposts on me now. I mean, it is
I'm
Bible school. It is Bible school. Why else would you go to Bible school?
Learn the Bible?
Okay, learn the Bible. For what, though? For what would be your end goal?
I don't know. I mean, I think that...
So how much do you think Bible schools cost?
A lot of money.
So you're going to spend all that money just to learn the Bible?
People go to school to learn art. They can make no money. Because they love art. I don't know what to tell you.
I think you can get a degree in like library sciences as well.
Oh, my God.
But librarians make some money. At least there's like a job to go into.
Hold on.
But I'm not even hating on people. I think I know someone
No,
that
I
went
don't
to
know.
school to
People
get
gonna
my
see
art.
that as some hate.
No,
right there,
I know
boy.
someone that's also that went to school.
I know, but people are
art.
gonna see that as some hate. But I'm saying,
No.
why would you spend all that money? What would be the purpose of going to Bible school? If you're gonna, you could just read the Bible, and learn the Bible. What would be the point of taking the Greek classes and the Hebrew classes and systematic theology, depending on what depending on what denomination you're in? That could be a lot. Why do you spend all this money? Why is it? Why are they not working? What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, the goal of the schools, of a lot of schools, probably is just to make money, to keep the doors open.
Okay.
And so I don't know. Again, I don't know what their full attention is. Attention is to do that or not, or to make pastors or not. I don't know. I don't know if they're. I don't know how it's all set up. I would say maybe some colleges are designed that way, but not all of them. I mean, some of them. I mean, you doubt if they believe the Bible in the first place. So
Okay. What about you? Toga? What you got for me?
Yeah, I don't know.
Boy, my random question was obviously just for myself here.
I was thinking maybe it might be, and I could be wrong. It might be more systemic than that, in the sense of like, I think maybe the role of a pastor is something that used to be respected and sought after. If you were a pastor in a small town or in a community, like, people really looked up to you. Whereas now it's not. It doesn't come with that reverence. And so maybe what you have is just less people in general who want to become pastors, and so you have less people who are going to Bible school to become pastors.
Okay, I guess my question is then, let me switch up the question a little bit. Do you think if you're going to Bible school to be a pastor, do you think it's more about the orthodoxy or orthopraxy? Do you think it's more about learning the Bible, or is it more about doing the work of the ministry? Which one's going to serve you better if you were to have your own church?
well, you need both. I mean, you need to know the word, and you need to know how to have church.
So you're saying if I'm a Bible college student, I should be involved in a local church, and I should be walking out what I'm learning in the classroom?
That would make sense to go to church.
What about you?
Yeah, you want to be really balanced. I mean, if you're only one way, you're going to end up in trouble.
So this is, I guess, what I would say. Okay, let me ask you a different question then, because I'm trying to get to the root of it. If this is really working and we're all learning the Bible and all this is going on, then why are more churches closing than opening? Why is there the crisis of we don't have enough pastors to fill the pulpits? What's going on then?
I would say people don't want to be pastors in general. I mean, I know some people that went to Bible college, I'm thinking of right now, who went and ran nonprofits or some neighborhood ministries, or went and took on different jobs. They didn't want to be a pastor. They went in and realized, maybe this is too hard, or they want to do something else. They want to do ministry but not be a pastor.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to, I think, maybe what I said earlier, in the sense of, I think that it's not a role that society looks at as maybe something that is even deemed a successful career, or, status-wise, there's not an awe to it like there used to be. There's not a reverence to it, and so people just are not wanting to do it. And then I think also that it's a lot of work. It ain't easy, and you don't get paid a lot.
Okay.
So there's not a whole lot of jobs that people want to sign up for that ain't easy, and you don't get paid a lot.
Okay. All right. I was thinking to myself, this is just Anthony's opinion, right? I mean, for what it's worth. I suppose this was my random question, because I put a lot of thought into this, and you guys are just like, nah, it's a random question.
Well, we just got it. So
but I'm saying, I think about this stuff all the time. I think what's going on is there has to be a dynamic balance. But one of the biggest issues is a lot of people are coming out of Bible college steep in debt. Like, it's very expensive to go to school, and especially Bible school. And a lot of them in trying to graduate on time or even sooner to come out with less debt, they don't volunteer at churches. They don't participate in the work of the ministry. So therefore, all they get is this head knowledge. All they get is this, basically this is how to approach this text or that text, that they don't actually do the work of the ministry. And there are some things you don't learn in seminary, like really, to conduct a funeral, a wedding. How do you deal with the mamas in crisis with their teenager? Like all these different things, that you don't really get classes simulated for. And all of a sudden you're doing the work of the ministry. No wonder you feel overwhelmed. You don't feel like you're equipped. You don't feel like you could do things. Man, ministry is some hard work. I tell people all the time, like, this ain't for the faint of heart and this ain't for lazy people. You better be willing to grind. You better be willing to go the extra mile, and it all falls on you. So if something don't go right, at the end of the day, all those roads lead right back to you. This will work the laziness out of you, or your lazy butt will be done. It's one or the other. That's just how it works. So anyway, that was my thoughts. That was my 2 cents. It was just a random question. I go on these walks and I get these random questions that I talked to this young man, and I literally went on a walk, and that was all I just thought about. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm weird in the head. Okay, let's follow back up. So we had a comment. This comment comes through a person. So had a homie who always watches the podcast. I would shout his name out, but I'm trying to leave everybody's names out of this because I'm just a nice guy. And he goes, yo, man. He goes, why you get so many people sweating you on stuff? And I'm like, man, I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't know why people sweat me. People like to talk. And so we talked about tithing last week, and I guess some people made some clips about me and some stuff about me. And basically their whole argument was tithing is so Old Testament, and they wanted to go back and forth on the word. Well, here's where I'm at on this position. You ready? If you don't want to tithe, guess what? Don't tithe. Ta-da! Like, if you're trying to go tit for tat on the Bible, well, bring a big sword and we can go at it. I mean, it's just we can do it, but we're still going to end up at the same place. And so people are always trying to get you into these arguments. Like, I'm not going to argue with you. Like, you don't have to. I got another one for you. Ready? Don't Sabbath. You ain't got to do that either. Jesus said you can, Sabbath any day of the week you want to. Okay, so pick a random. Russian roulette it. I don't care. But it's like, I think people are making, these big deals about stuff. My deal is, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it because ain't nobody checking up on you. And let's just see how your life turns out. But I wanted to ask you guys a question. And the question I wanted to pose to you guys is, why do people feel this need to argue about stuff like tithing when it's just as simple to say, if you don't believe in it, don't practice it, don't do it? Why do people like to argue so much?
Well, sometimes arguing is fun. I think that's one thing.
Okay, you find it fun?
He likes to argue. I don't like to argue.
I like to argue sometimes. I like to argue with people who are going to get offended and just we can walk away and not care. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
That's why you like this so much.
Yeah, no, I'm more on like, this is stupid. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about this for 20 minutes and be at the same spot. Why are we going to talk about it?
That's a good point. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that's one reason.
So if this person wanted to argue with you about tithing, tithing's Old Testament, Deshaun, you don't need to do it.
I don't argue about that, though. That's
okay.
It has to be more fun than that.
But what would you say to him?
What
would you say to that person? It's Old Testament. You don't got to do it. You're not under the law. You're under grace. You're good.
What you're saying sounds great. Yeah. All right. Go to your church and go tell your pastor that. I don't know. But yeah, I think a lot of times I even had to check myself recently. I like to argue, especially I like to go after people. Like I'll go after recently start going after Muslims too much. Like arguing stuff and they'll be praying for you to them. I'm like, your God doesn't hear you. I was like, who am I winning over with this? And I realized do I want people to come to Christ or I want to argue with people?
Oh, okay.
Do I want people to be saved or I just want to make fun of someone? Okay. And so just really checking my heart. I was like, what's the purpose? Where am I trying to lead and guide people to?
So with this person in particular, how would you rebut this person? How would you opine to them if they say, hey, tithing is Old Testament, you don't got to do it? What would you say to this person?
That's fine. If you don't go to my church, or if you do go to my church, maybe you want to leave a church and go to a pastor. That's what they teach and believe. And, I hope you keep following Christ.
Okay. What would you say?
Where are you getting that? How are you interpreting the scriptures?
Because Jesus never once said you had to tithe. That's what they'll tell you. It's not in the New Testament. A strict 10% tithe.
So then, I don't think with that type of person, I don't think it matters what you're going to say back to them.
I couldn't agree more.
And so it's why keep going tit for tat?
Why? And that's why I don't though. That's the whole reason. It's like trying to convince Laker fans right now they're not going to win the finals. That was too soon because I got Laker fans blowing me up right now. They got Luka and everybody just wrote their name in the championship. Some getting tattoos already. Like we winning the ship.
Luka's the great white hope.
He's the great. Hey, people saw that last week. Hey, I want you to know, people came up to me, D, and they said you're wrong. He is white. European or not, if you Puerto Rican looking black and you get pulled over and you're black, they said Luka White did. They said the bishop is wrong on that.
I don't know how I'm wrong.
You're wrong. No, they said you're wrong because they agree with Mike. First off, he ain't getting pulled over.
No, see, this is what everyone's learning. he changed the word. Words matter so much. Because we said when you get pulled over, he changed it if we get pulled over. You changed the whole question. You changed the whole scenario to try to win the argument. Words matter, and you try to change up the word.
Okay, he's not gonna get pulled over, and if he does, he's still white.
He white.
Nope, until he starts talking.
He white. They just gonna say where you from, but that's all they gonna say is where you from.
No, you ain't from here, boy. That's what they gonna say. You ain't from these parts.
So yeah, I just with people. So I guess what it comes down to is they say Old Testament, New Testament, that type of stuff. Did Jesus really say it? All this. Here's where I go back to. What I hear in people's voices that say that is they say when the pastors talk like that, then they're just trying to control people. They're trying to control people. And what most people don't understand is we really don't have any control over people. I can't make anybody give. I can't make anybody serve. I can't make anybody do anything, right? And I think that's the issue. And I wanted to show you this clip. This is our first clip. I think John MacArthur does a great job of presenting this case right here of what a pastor's actual role is and how we only really have say over somebody's life that invites us.
How much authority does a pastor have in the lives of his congregants?
None. No authority. I have no authority in this church, personally. My experience doesn't give me any authority. My knowledge doesn't give me any authority. My education doesn't give me any authority. I have no authority. My position doesn't give me any authority. My title doesn't give me any authority. That's why I don't like titles. Only the Word of God has authority. Christ is the head of the church, and he mediates his rule in the church through his Word. I have no authority. I don't have authority beyond the Scripture. I can never exceed what is written. 1 Corinthians 4:6. To do that is to become, Paul says, arrogant and to regard yourself as superior. I have nothing to say to you that puts any demand on you if it isn't from the Word of God. The pastor in himself has no authority. Listen to what Paul says. Who is Paul? Who is Apollos? Who is Cephas? We're nothing. It's all of Christ. It's all of the Holy Spirit. It's all of the Scripture. Okay?
Man, that was absolutely phenomenal. What did you think of his take on that? What did you think of his take on that?
Yeah, you can't go beyond Scripture. I mean, this is authority that you speak on, and you can't exceed that. I mean, in reading Deuteronomy today, he said, "Don't add to my laws, and don't take away." And it's what God has always established. Like, you just obey what I've commanded, and no one is to exceed these things, and no one is to take away from these things.
Yeah. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, I think maybe, I think he answered a question that maybe she wasn't really asking.
Okay,
that is kind of true. Yeah.
Go ahead.
You heard that too?
Yeah.
Because I think that she was kind of thinking like, outside of the pulpit, like, what authority do you have in my life?
Oh, okay. I saw it the way he answered it, but go ahead, break that down.
Like what are you allowed to say? How are you allowed to speak into my life? What authority do you have in the congregants' like lives outside of maybe the building of the church?
Well, I mean,
you sort of answered that earlier. It's what people allow.
Okay, if I could, I still think it goes back to one part of his answer.
No, I agree.
I have no authority outside of what the Word says, and I can only speak on what you invite me to. So, might have been a couple weeks, couple days. It doesn't matter. A homie hit me up. This is way back in the day, homie. Said, "Hey, man, really trying to get my life right. Really trying. I think he's dating somebody. I think this is where he didn't really say, but I think this is where he was going. I'm trying to do things the right way, not like how I messed it up last time. So I'm assuming it's either a job or a girl. How about that? More than likely a girl, though, And he goes, I'm trying to do it right this time. Help a brother out. And I have to look back to see how I exactly responded, but I know the heart in which I responded was like, in order to do it right, You got to invite people in, right, to the conversation. But you cannot violate the commands of God and expect to receive the blessings of God. I did my Devo today on God wants to be worshiped a specific way. First thing he says in that chapter is tear everything down because we ain't doing it this way.
Don't do it the way they do it.
Don't do it the way they do it. And here's the thing. Most people come in with Sunday mornings with an agenda. Most people come into church service with an agenda. They're going to worship God the way they want to worship. They're going to give God what they want to give. They got it all pre-planned, and God's saying you got to do away with all that. You got to come in. You got to allow me to speak to you because there's a certain way that I want to be worshiped. Are you willing to do that? You cannot, here it is again, you cannot violate the commands of God and expect to receive the blessings of God. So if you want a different outcome, you got to switch the way you've been doing it. So, but we can only do that is if you invite us in. You have to invite us into the conversation, and then as pastors, we can't take abuse of that. We got to go directly to the Word, and what does the Word say about it? What does the Word say about it? So I think I kind of understand where you're coming from. She was asking a little bit of a different question. So I get it, but I still think it falls underneath that umbrella of what he did say. Like, we have nothing outside the word, but that's what people always say. Like when we talk about giving or whatever, they're like, you're trying to control people. Or we talk about sexual immorality, you're trying to control people. And really, if I could be honest, I ain't trying to control nobody. I'm just trying to control myself. And I'm only preaching this because the word of God says we need to preach the word. Like, everybody always gets mad at the messenger, but I didn't write the message. Like, I mean, I confess to yesterday, there's sometimes I read some things, I'm like, can we wipe that out a little bit? Can we erase it? Like, I don't like that either. But the truth is, God wrote it for a specific purpose, right? And I think we miss that. And I think people just want a gospel catered to themselves, and I think that's why people have a problem with this. But anyway, I don't know. Did you see where I was coming from on that?
Mm-hmm.
Like we can only do as much as people invite us into, right?
Yeah, I mean, God has called us to be a part of a church. As some stuff I was studying, all of the early church are all part of a local church. There wasn't this individual when he writes in Revelations, he's writing to a church because all the believers are at that church. Right. They're at this local church. So we're called to be a part of a local church under some type of leadership. And so you're following the direction of that leader to wherever you feel like God's called you. In our country, we have the opportunity there where there's a lot of churches where you can choose who you're going to be under and who you're going to follow under their teaching, as long as they're preaching the Bible. And so you get to choose that and sort of be guided by that authority that you feel God is leading you to.
Yeah, I would like to say this too is I think this might help somebody. Okay, so if you don't think it will, just tell me. If you think it does, tell me why you think it does. I think people get confused with two things. There's the way the pastor preaches, the style in which he teaches the word of God or preaches the word of God, and then there's the vision that the Lord gives the pastor. I've had plenty of people who like my preaching, they just don't like the vision. And I've had people who've come here, they like the vision of the church, they just didn't like the preaching. And it's the people who stick around is they like the preaching and they agree with the vision. I want to speak to somebody right now. You might be at a church where you like the way he preaches, but you can't align yourself with the vision. Then God didn't call you there to drive a different vehicle. You're either going to have to get on that bus or go find a different bus. Or if you're there and you like the vision, but you really can't stand the preaching, that's like saying, I love the house, but I can't stand the cooking. Sooner or later, you're going to get hungry and you're going to start to listen to somebody else's preaching, then that's going to be your pastor. You can't have an either or. You got to have and. You got to have them both. You got to have them both if you're going to really grow where you're planted. Do you think I'm off on that?
No, I mean, I think I've seen that. I'm sure we've seen that practically played out, where you have somebody who really, I'll give an example. You have somebody who really likes how the pastor preaches. He really likes the community, but at the same time, the pastor is really okay with maybe not doing any type of outreach outside of the church. And outreach for that person is like huge. And he's like, hey, how come we're not hitting the streets? How come we're okay with 10 people in the building? And the other 9 people are perfectly fine with it. I mean, that's just, they're okay with having a small church and like they're fine with it. But this person is so unsettled that every week they're like, and then they start pointing at the pastor like, yes. How come you're not doing this? How come you're not doing this? How come you're not doing this? And the pastor's like, well, that's not what God was showing me what we're supposed to be doing in this season as a church, whatever it may be. And you become unsettled, and then all of a sudden it's like that person starts talking to other people. Hey, how come the pastor's not having us do this? And that dissension starts and the disunity starts. And so I definitely agree with, if you want to build deep roots or grow deep roots and build like a foundation at a church, you want to line up with both.
What about you, Bishop? What'd you see on that one?
Yeah.
The man who likes to argue right now. Let's go.
Eventually, you're gonna have an issue, unless you can feel like your heart can line up to what the vision is and the preaching is. But eventually, you're gonna say like, man, like you said, you're gonna cause division because you're gonna start talking, or you're gonna be angry, or something's not gonna work out.
Yeah.
Can you meet in the middle?
What do you mean? Go ahead. Can you meet in the middle?
Like, can you eventually, if you're a very mission-driven person, but the church doesn't really do a whole lot of stuff outside of the church, like, do you think that there'll be people who can say, you know what, I know pastor's not really like that, but I can be okay with staying, or is it inevitable? Like,
what do you think? I think some people could, very rare people could. They could be okay with it, but most people couldn't. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it depends on what it is. I mean, I think some people may be like, man, I don't love the music. I think something like that, at least for me, I probably can get away with. Like,
okay.
It's not, again, like I said before, music's not a big thing to me.
Oh, you're saying depending on what it is,
what's important.
You might be right on that.
What's important to you?
Yeah, because we do have people at our church who feel our worship is a little too short, but yet they love everything else about
style.
It. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or the style, but more. I hear more. It's too short for them. They want 25, 30 minutes of worship, and I think because of First Wednesdays and stuff we do where we have longer worship. So okay, yeah, I think it depends. Okay, somebody, I need to go through my phone to see who sent me this, but they had AI create the Noah story, basically, not the whole thing, but just a little something. And they made this video clip, and I thought for our sci-fi, we haven't done sci-fi in a while. I actually like this. I know it does not really sci-fi, but it could fall under. But I like this. I want to get your guys' take. I know it's probably not exactly biblically accurate, but kind of like the story of David right now on Amazon. Come on, I like David the King. That's been a good show so far. But I just want to get your take on this. Watch this. I thought it was pretty dope. Watch this. Hey, what'd you think of that? I mean, just a little something, a little illustration.
Kind of creepy.
Weird. Sci-fi worthy.
What was creepy about it? What was creepy?
The one dude. You see the dude? He was getting massaged. You see his hands. He had like three thumbs.
Okay, so where do you think they got that from? What was different about Goliath?
Oh, he had six fingers on each hand and 6 toes, right?
Yes, so he had an extra appendage, right? So what was that? Was that a pinky or was that a thumb?
I guess I don't know why I always thought it was a pinky.
So could it have not been an additional first finger? I mean, I'm just.
I have seen somebody with a little extra pinky.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, hey, he'd be good for baseball, right? With 6. No, but I'm saying, wouldn't he be good for baseball?
Oh, yeah,
great pitcher. So that's what I'm saying. Like. Okay, so what'd you find creepy about it? You just laughing at his joke. What'd you find creepy about it?
Oh, just the whole thing. The whole thing was weird.
Why?
I don't know.
Like, what do you really think it was like back in Noah's day?
Oh, I don't know.
What do you think it was like in Noah's day?
Yeah, sometimes I wonder. And then, I don't know. Do you ever think about everything being in black and white? And then it's like, it's not in black and white.
It's not black and white.
It's in color.
Yeah.
But they're throwing parties, being the bar.
Well, it says, what does the Bible say? They were eating and giving in marriage up until the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything was, they had all their own gods. They had all this stuff going on.
Those some wicked people.
Wicked people. So I just thought that was good. Just, just something to just kind of reference, go back. I'm not saying it's exactly biblically accurate, but I just thought it was good just to have a little point of reference. Yeah, it's not black and white TV over here, so that's good. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I talked about generous and I talked about greed this week and what the Bible had to say about it. I want to talk to you guys about a specific point. So we talked about the spirit of mammon, okay, the spirit of mammon. And I said that there's two points of thoughts on this, and I love doing the podcast about this because then we could really take it home with this. So the first thought was this was a translated word that was a little hard to translate, which that part is true. So it is an Aramaic word, mamos, and I think it's matos in the Greek, and so it can mean wealth, riches, materialistic things. Okay, so a little bit hard to. So the translators just put God and money, and then other people kept it mammon because they believed to it to be some type of like deity, some type of God, and so I showed that picture. What was your guys' take on that? Did you appreciate that? Was that a little confusing? Did it make sense? Had you heard that before? Go ahead, any one of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought the picture was a great representation of just how it's never enough, and B, you are at the whim. I don't think that's the right way to say it, of something else, and that something happens to be wealth, money, greed. Okay. So the picture was pretty cool.
Okay, what'd you think?
Yeah, I haven't seen the picture, but I've heard that discussed.
You see the picture on Sunday?
No, I saw the picture. I never seen the picture before.
Oh, okay, sorry, my bad. Okay.
But yeah, I've heard like talking about like the power, mammon, because it's a power, it's a force more than just the simple idea of money. But yeah, I mean, I think it's right.
So I did a little bit more digging, right? Because we just argued about this. You can't believe everything you read on the internet, right? Mm-hmm. So I did a little bit more digging, went to some origins, and come to find out most people ascribe, okay, so they believe that this was done right about 14th, 15th century, that they started kind of addressing this as a spirit. So it wasn't as old dated. Now I say most people, because you still have people who say it was old dated, right? Assyrians, because you have Aramaic. Okay, but I'm going to get into all that. But most people started saying that people wanted to, like in Paradise Lost and all this, they wanted to give it more of a colorful background so people would understand, kind of give it to them in a palatable way where they can understand the greed and the insatiable desire for materialistic things. So I just thought that was interesting that, like I said, I went on a study on it just to see what was going on. Brass tacks, though, and at the end of the day, it speaks to the conditions of one's heart and how, if you're not careful, it's the shiny things in life that catch your eye. It's those things that you can find yourself with a thirst that cannot be quenched, with a hunger that cannot be satisfied, and it's all for the materialistic things. And I used to quote, I'd rather be poor down here and rich in heaven instead of being rich down here and bankrupt in heaven. And I just want to expound on that if you're going to say you're a mature believer, okay, I know I just went on a rant 10 minutes ago about being a mature believer and, taking the high road. If you're going to say you're a mature believer, then I'm asking you guys, I know what I said yesterday, that generosity is a demarcation, it's an identifiable marker of this. But if we were to go on a scale of 1 to 5, okay, 5 notable things that are a marker of a mature believer, right? Where would you rank generosity in that 5? Would it even be in your top 5? Where would you rank generosity? Or am I wrong and it's not an identifiable marker of a mature believer? I don't know. Bishop, since it's the word, we'll go with you. Am I wrong? Is it not an identifiable marker, or where does it rank in that top 5?
If we're called to love one another.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking out of that, you're going to be generous to people.
Explain that to everybody. I mean, I agree with you, but yeah, I know where you're going, but explain it to everybody who's watching.
Young boy loves a girl, fall in love with a girl. He's want to give up anything for her. Whatever money, second job you got to get, money to save for a ring, trying to buy a house, whatever it may be, you're willing to give it up for that person because you're in love with them. It's just everyone understands that, guy or girl, you're willing to give up something for that person. You're willing to be that generous. God is telling us to love other people like you love yourself. You always want things, and he's telling you, hey, go love that person. And when you love people, out of that, you're going to be generous. So you're going to be looking at things like when you have extra stuff, you be looking at it like, man, that person needs help. And you're like, man, maybe I can help him with it. Maybe, man, that person needs a car. Like, man, I have extra car. Maybe I can be generous and love that person. I get nothing in return. So I think out of the love you have for people, and as you go in maturity of actually loving people who can't give anything back to you, you're going to end up finding yourself being generous.
I like that. What you say? I like how you use the analogy if a young boy meets a woman, he's willing to go broke. That's what you were basically getting to.
You're generous as you could be.
Don't matter how many jobs you got to work. What you got, Mike?
I started thinking about what would be the top 5, and so I kind of started going rabbit hole. I think that in regards to being generous, I don't think that it's necessarily like, I don't think you could look at somebody who's generous and say, man, they're a believer.
Go ahead.
I don't think that you could look at somebody who's generous and say that they're a believer.
Okay.
Right. But I think you could say that it is a demarcation of a mature believer, because
where would you rank that then?
I think I was
is it in top 5?
I think the top 5 is like, man, what else would be in the 5, right? So I think your prayer life should be in the 5. Your church attendance, in the sense of like attending a local church, serving a local church, kind of all is in one. I definitely think generosity is in there. Forgiveness.
Okay.
I think forgiveness is in there.
Okay.
I was trying to think of what they were when you were talking to him about it.
Oh, okay. Well,
what are your 5?
Well, hold on. Let me read you some. So, according to the Bible, Jesus talks a lot about money. 11 of his 38 parables are about money, and 25% of his teachings. So, what do you think he's trying to say to us? If 1/4 of his teachings, and 11 out of 38, which is a third, essentially a third, what do you think? He's got a lot to say, or he's got a little to say? How important do you think this is to him?
Yeah, I mean, anytime somebody repeats something, it's important, right?
Right. Were you aware that 11 out of the 38? And
I know it was a lot. I mean, a lot of your life is trying to make money.
That's true. Well, because what it represents, right?
Well, you're asleep, then you're awake, you're at work trying to make some money.
You have to provide for a family. Yeah. So you're not surprised at that?
Yeah, because I mean, it's attached to who you are and what you do.
Okay.
And so to give some of that away, you're like, man, this is my day's work right here that I'm giving to someone. Like, I want that to satisfy me, not you.
Okay, so going to the story. Okay, I'm gonna get to a story, but let's dive into this just a little bit more and dig into this a little bit more. So I like your forgiveness. I agree with all of what you guys said. I love your analogy about boy meets girl. All that's all great. When I think about generosity, is it just money, or is money just a sign of something? Like, can you be very generous with your time, your skills? Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of times we needed somebody's skills and not their money. Like, hey, because someone just know how to do this. So would you say generosity includes those things, or do you think most people fall into the trap of generous just being money?
I think when we talk generosity, our minds initially go to money.
Okay.
But I think if we really like sift through it, I think that we would probably all agree that it's time, your
treasures,
talents, right? Yeah. Your treasures. So,
Bishop, why, if part of maturing is becoming a generous believer, then what stops people? Because, you know, in Corinthians 9, it goes on, those who sow generously reap generously, right? So what stops us from becoming, Bishop Tony Evans, he called it cirrhosis of the giver, right? So what stops people from becoming, or what stops people from growing and maturing into a generous person? What's something that would hinder them?
I mean, I think the first thing is, like I said, is like a love for people. I mean, I'm the most generous with my kids because I love them. And I feel like it's not because I have to take care of them. It's because I love my kids and I want to provide for them. And so it comes out of that. And then I think also you don't believe that God will provide for you. And
speak on that one.
If I give something away, what about me? And it's like, again, it's not trusting that, hey, God, I could be generous. I know you're also going to provide for me. I won't go without. Or even if you do, you're willing to, because like, God, you called me to do this.
I was going to ask you, but what's really going without, though? What's that really look like as Americans?
Well, I need a new pair of shoes. I mean, going without, I mean, my shoes are dirty.
But
that's American. Like,
I know. I think you understand. Yeah, I think you understand what I'm saying. Like, I'm being a little sarcastic here, but as Americans, what's really going without?
But I mean, I guess so someone's really, really trying to work this through was like, what is the line? Like, what's the line of like, I have these shoes for 2 years. I want a new pair of shoes. What do I give for someone else? Like, where's the line at? Obviously, that's a stream, but it's like, where is it where I'm supposed to give, and where's it? And I think that's where it comes to, like, you have to work that out. Like, what does God place on your heart? And it's be obedient to that and to realize because some people are willing to go out with a lot less. I mean, my dad was willing to he looked homeless a lot of times, but he had a closet full of suits, because he certainly, like, regular clothes, he didn't care. And for him, that wasn't a big deal. So everyone
But
has
his Sunday suits were.
Yeah, so some people have certain levels they can live at. They don't care what kind of car they drive. Like they're willing to give that up so I can be generous to other people.
Gotcha.
What does God place in your heart that you're willing to sacrifice to give to people?
So you're saying, let me get this right. So you're saying generosity is going to look different for individuals. Generosity is going to look different for families. Generosity is just going to look different in part. So what would you say is the one common thread? You're saying that the one common thread with all the generous people is their love for people.
I think so. I mean,
what about their love for people and obedience to God and what God is asking them to do?
Well, so that'll be the other part. I got to take care of my kids. It doesn't matter how you feel that day.
They got to eat.
They got to eat.
They got to eat. Okay.
And so at certain points, it is a love for people. Then some points it'd be like, God told you to do that. You need to be obedient.
Okay. What about you? What about you? He had a lot to say on that. What would you want to piggyback on that one?
Because your initial question is why do
what stops people from being generous? What prohibits or roadblock?
So I won't go off what he said. I'll just add to it, just because what he said was good. Maybe people are reluctant to give because of what they feel like people will do with their money.
Oh,
like what you like
the Judas spirit right there,
like
huh?
What you will do with the money that I give you,
right?
And so,
and is God really worried about that, or is God really worried about your obedience?
God's worried about you giving through your obedience, and do it with a cheerful heart. And sometimes I might say, man, I don't know. But yeah, I think sometimes people are concerned, whether that be like through the church, if we're talking
nonprofit or whatever,
or that be somebody who's asking us for money on the street. Hey man, can I get $5 for that?
Well, according to you guys never carry cash. So
no, you get a handshake.
Well, it's funny. I remember if you say that. I remember the first time like coming out to Christ and I gave someone money. I was at Fresno City. I remember it was this older Mexican lady digging through the trash. Like all these college students. I felt so bad for her. And I gave her money. And she was so shocked. And I remember that moment because I was like, man, I felt so good to be able to help. And she was like, why? She didn't ask for anything. And just to give her that. And I wanted to be more generous. And I remember over time getting played a few times. And I'm like, forget these two people. It is like my heart being hardened by that. But I remember that first, like, man, being so like happy to be able to actually love on someone in that way and to be generous.
Because I think when I hear generous, I think like, the biblical principle of tithing and going above your tithe when it comes to the church, but then also like all the other areas of your life, right? Buying the Girl Scout cookies at the store. Or
got hit up after church with some Girl Scout cookies. I went in on it again. They had Thin Mints. I was a happy brother right there.
Thin Mints.
Yeah.
There it is. So I think about like all the different opportunities that you have to give.
Right.
And I think that at times what may be a hindrance for people is like, what is this other person going to do with whatever I'm going to give them?
I love all your answers. I was really hoping somebody would say budgeting because I have this clip that I'm going to show you here in a second. I do want to say this. You guys have both been generous. At the end of the day, no matter how people spent the money or et cetera, whatever, at the end of the day of living a generous life, do you ever look back with regret? Do you ever look back on your generous moments and go, man, I wish I would have done that? Has that ever happened to you? Just being honest?
No, the only time I'm ever looking back is when I go, man, I had an opportunity and I didn't.
Thank you. What about you?
No, I never looked back and said, man, wish I didn't do that. Like, I'm always happy to do it.
But, I could tell you moments of greed where I still look back going, that was stupid. Why didn't I just? And that's the thing about generosity. It's such a God empowering moment, like where he empowers you, that you look back and you go, I'm glad I did. Whereas compared to greed, it's regretful, it's remorseful, it leaves a yucky feeling.
You know what I find is when I look back at those times that I miss an opportunity, they were all like really small opportunities.
Always.
They weren't big things.
Always.
They were all small.
Always.
And I'm like, man, why did I do that?
It's because great opportunities swing on small hinges all the time, just like great doors. It's just small defining moments. Those are the character. I tell people all the time, they say, hey, when you're going through a test, character's revealed in the fire. No, it's not. Character's built day by day by the small decisions you make in life. That's when character's built. Character's revealed in the fire. We see what you've been working on in the darkness when that bright light gets turned on. We see what you've been working on when the heat gets turned up. We see your character all right because you decided not to do the small things. You didn't major in the small things, and now you are paying the price for it. I tell people all the time, you got to major in the small things. Don't walk past trash. Always give if you can. I tell them on these small things, they all build character, period. Okay, I'm going to show you this clip. I think this might help people, and then we're going to wrap up some thoughts. But I think most people, the reason they don't see the margin to be generous, because we've all been real poor at a time when we started this church, you have to see the margin. In order to see the margin, you have to know where your money's going. I think so many people have so many subscriptions to things, they don't see where all their money's going. I want you to watch this clip. I love this clip.
I'm trying to figure out something.
If you don't tell your money where to go, you're going to wonder where it went. In all of my years of financial counseling, I discovered that most people who couldn't figure out where their money went were not on a budget. They were just winging it every week, every month, year after year. But Proverbs 27:23 says, "Know well the condition of your flocks, because wealth doesn't last forever." Now that means that just like a good shepherd knows every detail about their sheep, we should know the details about our finances. And the only way to do that is to live on a budget. So here are 5 reasons why most people hate budgets, but why we need them anyway. Number 1, budgets feel too restrictive. I had a guy tell me one time that he feels like he's in a straitjacket when he budgets. But here's the deal. A good budget doesn't just tell you what you can't do. It just helps you do what you should do. Number 2, budgets require vision. Most people don't have a vision when it comes to their finances. Proverbs 29:18, one of my favorite verses, it says, "Where there is no vision, people perish." No vision means no direction. So if you don't know why you're budgeting, then it's not going to be any fun at all. But if you have a vision, like paying off debt or saving to buy a house or retiring comfortably one day, then that becomes your motivation to budget. So you got to have a vision. Now, the third reason people hate budgets is because budgets force you to face reality. And that can be scary for a lot of people. A lot of people are afraid to face the truth about their financial condition. Truths like, I'm spending more than what I make. Or, wow, I eat out a whole lot. But here's the thing, you can't change what you will not confront. Facing reality, it may be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Number 4, people hate budgets because budgets feel unnecessary when you have a surplus. In other words, people who have money think, why do I need a budget? I'm good. I got extra money. I have money left over every month. I'm balling. But without a plan, your surplus can easily turn into a deficit. You see, a budget is a plan for your spending, no matter how much money you have. So don't let today's abundance become tomorrow's regret because you didn't budget. And number 5, people claim that budgets never work for them. Maybe their old budget was unrealistic or too rigid or too complicated, so they just gave up. But the key is finding a budgeting system that fits your life. Because at the end of the day, a budget isn't about restricting your life. It's about unlocking your financial potential. And that's why I want you to comment budget down below, and I'll send you my free budgeting worksheet that will help you develop a personalized budget.
All right. I thought that was good. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it's good.
You're a budget guy, huh? You like budgets?
Do I like budgets? No.
But
do I need them to survive? Yes.
Are you a budget person? You
I do
prefer one or
budgets.
not prefer one?
What?
Do you prefer one or not prefer one?
We need one. You have to. It's necessary.
Yeah.
It's necessary.
Okay, I hate budgets, but I have to have one too. Okay, he said, just whatever one speaks to you is what I want you to close with. Okay, feel resistance, requires vision. You have to face reality. I feel like the Charlie Brown theme music behind all this. Okay, it feels unnecessary, or budgets never work. Which one's your Goliath? Which one do you face a lot of time? Like, which one really spoke to you? Like, hey, I have to overcome this in order to really be effective in my budget. Mike, since I've known you to be, I agree with you. I know you don't like budgets, but you do a budget. Which one do you feel like is your Achilles heel in this? Like, do you have a vision problem? Do you feel it's unnecessary? You don't want to face that reality. It's the first of the month, right? And all the bills. Or do you get the resistance from other people, or budgets never work? Which one would you say? And then give us the antidote if you can.
Yeah, I would say facing reality oftentimes can just suck. Like if you don't have the margin that you wish you had, if you feel like you say no more than that you wish you could say yes, it develops. It not develops it, but it creates just hard conversations with your spouse at times. because maybe you guys do have vision for wanting to do something, and you can't fulfill that vision because it ain't there. So anyway, for the facing what's in front of you at times can be really daunting.
Okay, what's the antidote?
What's the antidote to it? I think the antidote to that is that you just keep coming back to it. And
okay.
It can't be the elephant in the room that nobody talks about.
Oh, okay.
The more that you have those hard conversations, they do get easier. And then you're able to, over time, really shoot for whatever vision that is. And what you'll notice, and what I know, like in our house, what we've noticed is that we're able to say yes to more things down the road when we start saying no to things that we probably shouldn't say yes to now.
Okay. Bishop, what about you? Which one?
I mean, the thing that really stood out to me is something I actually thought about last week. Is just having better vision for what we're going to do. Because I'm okay, facing reality and facing it.
Broke is what broke does, or what?
Yeah, if it sucks, it sucks. That's what it is. But having a vision that really keep me focused on what are we doing, why are we saving, why are we spending the way we're spending, just things like that. It's like to have something in mind. I don't know if I really have ever had a vision like that. It's really just been like, just make it. All right, made it through the month. All right, made it through the month. Like, and really just have something that we're looking forward to, whether it be, saving money, going on a vacation, like this, whatever it may be, like, or we want to buy another house, like have something that we have a goal that we're trying to reach, instead of just like, well, we made it this month, just make it again. Like, really have a vision for it.
What do you think the antidote? Like, say somebody's out there really struggling with a vision for their finances. How would you encourage them?
You and your spouse, I mean, you figure out what you want to do. Like, I would like to eventually take my kids somewhere. I don't want to go to Disneyland, but
Don't do that. There goes the budget.
That's just on tickets, bro.
Yeah, but to actually, do something to eventually that I can. I mean, I think it'd be cool to have my son to have a car in high school.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Why not? And stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be a nice car, but he has something.
Okay.
It just to be able to have just things like that that are nice, that are cool, that I can maybe actually take place, instead of saying like, well, I'm just the broke Christian, I'm the broke pastor. It's like, why not have a vision for it? Like, am I limiting myself, or is God saying I gotta have more for you if you actually have a vision for it?
Love it. I think all that's good. Thank you so much. Okay, so for me, I'm that last point. I've always would just throw my hands up in the air and see a budget never works. And I've got to be honest, I'm so grateful for my wife. She's the one that, true confession, I took Dave Ramsey I believe it was 4 times, but I'll only admit to 3. Because I think the 4th time I had to teach class with her. So I was really learning all over again. So I think I hold the record. Because I was the person always going, well, it doesn't work. Because at the end of the day, we didn't get everything accomplished we wanted to accomplish. But I remember on that last time of setting goals, of doing the envelope method and doing all this. And I realized the reason I say budgets never work is because I never stick to it. And part of that is because I get frustrated. And I had to switch my mentality, where I was always a mentality like, hey, I worked hard for my money. Nobody's going to tell me how to spend it, especially some bald dude on a TV screen. That would just make me mad, right? Who seemed way too happy about dictating my life. And so anyway, once I got over me, sabotaging me, trying to blame it on the enemy, and it was my inner me, I realized that, hey, we were able to do it, and we were able to pay off so much debt. We were able to pay off credit cards. We were able to really start to save. And I realized that I was the biggest hindrance to myself. And so do budgets never work? It's possible. If you're not fully participating, then it won't work. If you're not going all in, and you're not willing to do the things that they're asking you to do, then it won't work. But will they work? Yes. To what extent? Well, that's all determined by you and your participation and your cooperation. So I say to you, those of you who were once like me and say budgets didn't work, are you really going all in? Are you really giving it your all? Are you a full participant doing everything you can? Are you getting rid of subscriptions? Are you checking your bank account on what are automatic withdrawals and things that are coming out? Are you putting things on pause like shoes and clothes? Are you really doing the things in full cooperation to achieve the goal and the vision that you have? Or are you just kind of doing it half-hearted? That's my question to you. But at the end of the day, I know they will work. Hey, this has been Not a Fit Podcast. Peace. We're out. If y'all could do me a favor, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you could leave a comment, hit the like button, but most of all, if you could hit subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.